And then the other stuff, I think his worst decision was the overtime decision because he made two bad decisions on one play. Should have, it's an RPR, so he should have handed it off, number one, because Khalil Mack stayed flat. You hand it off. You get 5 yards inside. Saquon breaks a tackle, might be a touchdown. Game over. Who knows?
Welcome in, everybody, to Wednesday's edition of Birds 365 here. Coming off of Week 14 in the NFL where the Eagles lost their third straight game, and we now move into Week 15 preparing for the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Will the Eagles be able to snap their 3-game streak? I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, John McMullen. Don't forget to drop a like button on the show today. Let's get to 250 likes, and drop your comments down below and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. John, plenty to talk about on a Wednesday edition here after a Monday night loss. How you doing this Wednesday morning, my friend?
I'm doing fine. The city is collapsing, evidently, because of the Philadelphia Eagles. But yeah, it's wild. It's been a wild couple of days out there. Just seeing clips and takes and all that kind of stuff. But the sky is falling. Chicken Little is out. So we'll see if the Eagles can get some confidence building wins against some pretty poor football teams as they head down the stretch this season. Only got one good one.
Will they be able to get that confidence, or will it all be shut down if you lose these type of games to teams that are much more inferior to you? John, yesterday you were right. You were like, yeah, you don't really have time to sleep on it when you're up till 3 a.m. Now that you've slept on it another day here, where are you on the Eagles' third straight loss on Monday night that they lost, and obviously got the Raiders coming up? You just pointed it out. 4 games left. 3 of them pretty damn easy in my eyes. What'd you make of it now? Another day removed, John, from the loss.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. I actually I'm not torn. I think, and I said it yesterday. I think the Eagles tried to placate other people, which I never think is a good strategy. And they play generally. And we're talking offensively. Obviously, nobody talks about the defense, which played well, but it has played poorly at times. But they're obviously coming off a well played game, so I get it. Nobody's going to talk about the defense, but offensively, yeah, I heard a stunning amount of people, like a lot of positives because of what they did. And they increased 11 personnel. They ran crossing routes, so they know what that is. The high school coaches know what crossing routes is. They added some things, dig routes, things over the middle. And so I heard quite a few people, saw clips of some of them high profile, saying a lot of positive. And I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because I mean, that's how I want to play. I feel like everybody's like, this is the way I think you should play. So there's a lot of positives. Okay. You saw the way they played. They don't play that way. So they're throwing the football all over the place. They're throwing the middle field. You got tipped footballs. You got receivers falling down. What happened? Interception. 40-2 when you win the turnover battle. That's why I said, go back to your boring bullshit. If you want to win, now, if you want to evolve and you want to be better down the road, and this is about 2026, which I don't get, yeah, keep trying to go. Keep trying to increase that margin of error. Keep trying to do it. Keep trying to improve. But to do it during the season in week 14, now week 15, you're going to continue it, maybe. Who knows? Go try to win the game.
So do you think it's a negative thing? Because I did see Dan Orlovsky talk about this, where the Eagles are doing other concepts.
Well, Dan's in love with it.
So things that can build. So you think it's more of a net negative because it revealed why they don't play this way in the first place?
Exactly. They turned it over 5 times, and he's thrilled. Does that make sense to anybody?
Because there's more complexity to the offense. I mean, I guess the idea there would be if you get more. You have more complexity to your offense, and you can hone down the turnovers. maybe you're more effective coming out
Yeah,
of it.
well,
But I hear
that
what you're
sounds
saying.
that sounds like preseason stuff to me,
Yeah.
not December. Again, off-season stuff. Yeah, I'm all for it. Off-season, let's ship this thing. That's the way you want to go. I don't know, man. We talk about identity. This team is this people. They don't have an identity. They had an identity. You didn't like it. Most people. Now they don't have an identity.
They were struggling to find one early, though. No, I mean, because the identity for
They weren't struggling to find it. They were struggling with it.
Right. They were struggling to execute it.
Yes. They had an identity the whole time. Now, because they're struggling, they struggled to execute it like they did last year. Now it's about, we got, all the staples you've heard over the years. We got this and we have this, so we should be able to do this, even though there's no evidence you've ever been able to do that on a consistent basis, which is the reason you scale back to the identity you do have. And now here we are again, and you saw it live in living color.
Well, do you think the Eagles have a similar thought process to you, where this is why we don't play this way? Let's go back to what we do. Let's stop turning the ball over and let's win. And on the 3-game losing streak, they've had more turnovers in the 3-game losing streak than they had, I think, in the combined 8 wins that they've had this year. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying it.
No, it is. They were. They've turned it over 9 times. In this 3-game losing streak, and I think the number was 7 or 8 coming into it. So yeah, I mean, but are they going to go back? I mean, maybe. I have no idea.
Well, how did the Eagles get Jalen to play, more up to his standard this year? Because I think everybody can agree that, whether you love Jalen or you don't like Jalen, that was an uncharacteristic game. All right. That's not who Jalen is week in and week out. That's never been who he's been since he's ever been a quarterback, turning the ball over at that clip. What do the Eagles have to do, in your opinion, to get him to play his best version of football for the 2025 Eagles? Is it simple? Is it go back to the simple? I mean, is there anything they can do within the simple? What do you got, John, to get Jalen? Because that game was on Monday night was not who Jalen is. That was a bad game, obviously. We all know that. But
and part of it,
yeah, I didn't get him back to a level where your team can go back and compete and try and make a run in this thing.
Well, I mean, part of it is it's just a bad game, and he's going to have not going to have consistently bad games like that.
He's had a pretty bad stretch, though. That was the worst of the games, but he's been off his game for sure. I would say for 3 to 5 weeks.
Well,
those
if you look at two of the interceptions, I mean, they're not on him. You got the AJ drop. Granted, the ball, you'd like it to be a better thrown ball, but he's got to catch that, where he's got to at least drop it where he's not tipping it in the middle of the field. And then Devontae slipped. There's good ball placement there. People don't know it because he slipped. And that's the dangers of some of the things that people want to see. So that's baked into it. Your turnovers are going to increase no matter what. And then the other stuff, I think his worst decision was the overtime decision, because he made 2 bad decisions on one play. Should have, it's an RPR, so he should have handed it off, number one, because Khalil Mack stayed flat. You hand it off. You get 5 yards inside. Saquon breaks a tackle, might be a touchdown. Game over. Who knows?
Yeah, somebody pointed out they ran that play in the first half too, and it worked successfully there. He threw it to the flat to Goddard.
Or and that's the second worst. Then you have generally, and I don't know, maybe someone will tell me. Generally they're high-low reads, but with an RPR, it's probably low-high. So you get it right out to the flat and you get 5 yards, whatever he's going to get it if you throw it on time. And then the high read was the one he went with. And not to mention that Khalil Mack was all over him, so he didn't get as much as he wanted to on the football. And then also the Chargers, Cam Hart made a great play, so you have to give him credit as well. But he made 2 bad decisions on 1 play. So that to me was the worst, and it was the play that lost the game. And then, he got fooled by the defensive lineman dropping. That happens. That's why they do it. But again, you're thrown over the middle of the field, which he generally isn't comfortable with. Bad things happen.
He did have a couple good throws in the middle. You mean that
He
third and
did.
16 throw in overtime
Yeah.
to Devontae Smith after the penalty? That was a really good throw, and that throw to the end zone. Obviously, we talked about at the end of regulation, not over the middle of the field, but still a great throw. He had a couple good throws out there. I mean, he did, but obviously, it's going to be overshadowed by the interception. So you think 2 of the interceptions weren't as bad as maybe it appears to him on the stat sheet?
Oh, no doubt. I think everybody knows AJ, and AJ said it himself. He's got to come down with that, even though, as I said, you prefer that it would be a better thrown ball. And then Devontae slipped. I mean, that happens all the time. And there's all there's all some of the most ugly interceptions you see in the NFL aren't even quarterback's fault, because the receiver either runs the wrong route, or they fall, or they slip, and you're watching the thing in real time and you're like, wow, that was a terrible throw. And so I think 2 of the 4 obviously weren't his fault, and then the fumble was his fault, but again, that's coming off the internet. That was just weird.
Yeah, that was it's still 1 turnover, that play, right? I mean, it was 2 listed, but they only turned the ball over once, technically.
Yeah, I mean, it's for stat purposes, it's 2, but
Right.
again, stats don't tell the whole story. But yeah, I mean, so there are plays that happen because you're playing that style of football, and you don't normally play that style of football, and I think those happen. And then there's legitimate bad plays, and he didn't play well. By no means am I trying to say he played well, but and Mike Gill needs the link, by the way.
Yeah, I talked to him.
So anyway, yeah, I think clearly, but when your stat sheet says 5 turnovers, that's part of doing business. If you want to be a high volume passing team, that's part of, you're going to have these games. And by the way, to come in again, this defense on the road, like, what are we doing? Who are we trying to placate? That's my question. If I'm the Eagles.
That's the thing to me. I mean, you got that great zone defense. That's one of the best pass defenses in pro football. By the way, Raiders are a heavy zone team too, and Pete Carroll's undefeated versus the Eagles. Make of that what you will. John, question for you: what is it more of a credit to the Eagles that they have 5 turnovers in a game, and they're right in it with a chance to win multiple times at the end of regulation and the end of overtime? Or is it more of a knock on the Chargers? Because with all of the negative we saw in that game, the Eagles, I mean, 1 A.J. Brown, it was a tough catch. That corner was draped all over him. But, I'm used to A.J. making that catch. 1 A.J. catch there, or, a better read from Hurts on that end of that overtime. They had every chance to win that football game, even with all of the turnovers. Is that a credit to the Eagles? How do you view that part of it?
Well, it's a credit to the Eagles defense, but it's both, because the Chargers were very limited because of their offensive line and their quarterback having surgery the previous Monday. So they were tremendously limited. So it's a combination of both, but that was a tremendous pass rushing performance just in general. And I'm not talking about the sacks. I'm talking about the consistent pressure. And, you could tell Vic felt it, and, he went with it, and they just were incompetent. Take out the 60-yard throw early in the game, which was kind of a just little blown coverage thing late in the play, and you lose track of the running back coming out of the backfield. He gets 60 yards. They couldn't do anything offensively. And you have to give Justin Herbert a ton of credit for running the football late in the game and setting the Eagles up with some of those RPOs and getting yardage running the football because he's more athletic than people think. So you do have to give him credit for that. Everybody called him a warrior, and he is, and top dude and all that, but they are going nowhere unless they can fix their pass protection issues. And I don't know how they fix them because they don't have tackles. So kind of both, but they were very, very limited. So that made it easier for the Eagles defense.
Yeah. John, you haven't been very hard on Patullo this year, and that you've already explained why, over and over again. I'm not going to make you do that. But my question for you on Patullo today is, and you can include Nick in this, how are they doing at the parts of the job that are not play calling? Everybody hones in on play calling, but in my opinion, it's a bigger job than just that. How do you think Kevin Patullo is handling the entire scope of the job? I think fans judge play calling. That's really it, That's it for an offensive coordinator. All right.
I don't judge play calling. They just play.
But is he doing everything else ready? Is he preparing ready?
No,
right.
No,
is he doing good things in the meeting? Like, are you hearing anything about that? Do you have any information on that? How do you evaluate Kevin Patullo and all the other things he's supposed to be doing? Because it is a big switch. I mean, to go from a pass game coordinator and assistant to the head coach to the offensive coordinator is a big switch for him.
I mean, no, you don't. There's lip service. Kenny Pickett famously said, "Well, this is the guy. This is in the Super Bowl week. This is our secret weapon. He's so important to the offense. Yada yada." It's like, who cares? But as far as preparation, this team doesn't look prepared offensively. The quarterback doesn't look prepared.
Kind of what I was getting at there, yeah.
The quarterback doesn't seem comfortable ever. So, all that's on Nick and Kevin and Scott Leffler as well, if you want to throw him in because of the great Bowling Green tape. So, no, by no means. I take umbrage to your. I haven't been hard on him. I think I've been hard on him in the places he deserved. Again, I'm never gonna cede an inch on the bullshit. I think it's the worst discussion in NFL talk, any show, anywhere on the planet.
I got no problem with you sticking your ground on it. That's why I tried to give you a different angle just to look at some of the other things that that job entails.
Teaching it, I bring up with Sean Desai and Vic Fangio. Sean Desai ran Vic Fangio's defense, ran Vic Fangio's defensive scheme. Was one of Vic's right-hand men in Chicago. Knew everything about that particular, but can you teach it? Can you teach it? Can you get the players that need to do what they need to do in obviously stressful immediate situations? And the answer was no. It was completely overmatched. So, I think everybody's got the wrong focus. If you want to criticize the coaching staff, and I said that pretty consistently, and here, if you want to criticize the coaching staff, criticize them for going away from their identity and trying, I don't know, because they'll never admit it. Oh, we gotta do this. For what? Why? If you play the way you normally play, you get out of there with a 2-score win against this team. Now, you're having the same discussions. It's probably ugly. People are saying, they can't do anything on offense. But, the Chargers were so limited. That was a bowling pin. Knock it over. The only reason they didn't knock it over is because they went out of their normal selves. Which, again, the
only thing I'd push back on there is I don't know what evidence you have that they'd win by 2 scores. They haven't won a game by 2 scores, I don't think, this year. Maybe the Giants game, that's it.
Well, the evidence is if you don't turn it over 5 times and you say you turn it over once or twice, you're winning by 2 scores. That's the evidence.
Yeah, I get that. In theory, yes. I don't know if they are because they don't win any games.
Well, everything's theory if you don't do it. But they're not turning it over. They might turn it over 2 times because they're playing poorly, as they did the prior weeks. I'm not saying it's going to be 0 because they are playing poorly. but it ain't going to be 5. So I mean, and again, that because of the situation, not that they're a bad football team, because of the situation they're in, the Chargers were so limited offensively. You're going to win that game by 2 scores. Again, maybe I'm not saying 14 points. It might be 8 points. It might be 9 points. Excuse me. Got to get it over 8. Might be 10, whatever. They're going to win that game. But got to make Dan happy. Got to make so-and-so happy. And by the way, they are happy. But I'm sitting there watching clips. I'm going, what are we doing here? A lot of positives.
Orlovsky was pumped.
Oh, they're running crossing routes. They're running dig routes, which, by the way, I thought they weren't in the playbook.
Yeah, they're in there.
Where'd that go?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, John. Get back to what they do best and win that way.